listening to CaveRadioBroadcasting.com. The words and opinions you are about to hear are of the hosts and do not reflect the management of CaveRadioBroadcasting.com.
Good afternoon and welcome to Down the Rabbit Hole. Today is Thursday, October 13th, year of our Lord 2016. You are listening to a Gen Pop Media production. I am joined by my good friend David, and Kenny.
And, Hooper.
Yeah, well, I saw him by the corner of my eye.
Al, you made it. I made it before you. I thought it sounded like you were going to maybe not make it.
I'd like to give a shout out to the usual suspects. First of all, the original truther himself. That would be Jesus Christ. All the work we do is to glorify his name. We got our friends at IamTheFaceOfTruth.com. They're always doing great work, so go visit them and see what you can do. As always, we are working with architects and engineers for 911.org.
It's been a while since we've talked to either of those guys, by the way.
Yeah. We got to get in touch with them. I misread.
Hello.
Yeah, we got to send them a hello. And then we implore you guys to get involved and do something. Go check out thedcdfoundation.org. It is a wonderful organization that is now really real, even though we always felt it was really real.
Really real.
Doing really good work in memory of someone very close to everyone on this show. And if you need something printed, that would be inkonpaperprinting.com. You can contact them for all your printing needs. Dave.
Howard.
What's up, buddy?
Sup, Hooper?
All right, can you tell who the last person was that used my computer?
Yeah.
My mom. She's so funny.
It looks like Brady ate a comic book and vomited on
Yeah,
your computer.
he's into FNAF World, Five Nights at Freddy.
I love
you
that.
guys know what I'm talking
yeah.
about?
No idea.
How he did
love
that.
Five
How he
Nights
did
at
that.
Freddy's.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's an awesome game.
Yeah, how we did that for a while.
So, it's the standard 5-year-old from Legos to... He's been getting into Avengers. Like, we've got a great little crossover of movies that we both like together.
Isn't that the best time to be a father?
I only have 0 to 5 years to compare it to,
Yeah.
but so far it has been pretty good.
Oh,
I've heard that
We've
the
got the whole
teenage
gang
years are
today.
going to be a whole new challenge, but we'll see.
The lovely cat is alive.
Entered the building.
We've got if you guys
Welcome,
said hello
sister.
to Al, who's here with us today.
Yeah, we walked in with
Al
him.
was Al wanted to be more of a spectator.
Oh, okay.
So he can feel free to chime in because he's
Yeah,
brought me
feel
something
free to
wonderful.
chime in at any time, Al.
But we have the
Hi, Kat.
How you doing, Kat? It is nice to see
Cat's
you.
looking good today, as usual.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought she was about to say, I know.
Looks like she's
Yeah, I
wearing
know.
a cat. I may have to pet your vest.
Is that a dead animal?
Me,
you wearing?
yow.
Not that I
It's
have
a
any.
fake dead animal.
Yeah, well, probably more animals were killed.
Do you
than
guys have
making
a-
that than
Right.
actually
Exactly.
Skinning
Or
one.
Do you
testing
guys
the
have a
product.
position on like fur coats?
For
Yeah,
goats,
I
they're
do.
awesome. They're warm, right?
Yeah, I'm a hunter and a trapper, so I have a position.
Yeah. I have a position on most of those things. I don't care.
God used them to clothe Adam and Eve. I'm down with it.
There you go.
Yeah, so
What about Steve?
Steve, who?
gotta go there. That's hate speech, dude.
Who are you
I'm
talking
sorry.
about?
I'm sorry.
Did I
Adam
miss-
and Eve, Adam and Steve. Duh.
Get it?
Dude, haven't you ever heard that hate speech?
No.
It all started with Adam and Eve, not Adam
Sorry.
and Steve.
I
Yeah,
slept
that's
it-
the mantra, right? Well, not
Yeah.
our mantra.
Not our mantra.
Oh, Adam and Steve.
It's
like-
Adam and Eve,
Quite
not Adam
possibly
and
the
Steve.
Westboro Baptist Church, but
Yeah,
not the
oh,
Baptist Church Dave and I go to.
I understand what you guys are saying now.
Yeah,
Sorry. It's quick around here. You gotta keep up.
yeah,
pal.
you gotta be on it, man.
Well, this is like the morning for me. In fact, I need a morning coffee to really get my brain working. We've got a friend today with us, Mr. Now I can say hello, Mr. Al Rice. He was one of the investors in The Anatomy of a Great Deception. Met him. Actually, this is the first time unless it was at the premiere of the film. So we've had a phone, email relationship,
Nice.
which was started through Dick Kennedy, who
Oh, okay. I know Mr. Kennedy. Yep.
another, literally, in my opinion, it's the last remnants of what the character that held this country together, people that actually still care
Yeah.
about things like truth, honor, doing the right thing, because as a nation, I think we've let those things.
I think it's been a long time since we've done the right thing as a nation.
Yeah, we're so sucked into it. Everyone has the MO. It's only like our 50th show, so
Oh yeah,
I know it's easy to forget some of those things.
I was busy running your show. I forgot to shut my ringer off. Sorry.
It's our show. I love when something goes wrong. It's your show,
That's
but when
right.
it's going, it's like,
Dude, come on. Isn't Brady her kid when he's bad? You got to hear what your son did today, because me and Girlie play that game all the time.
Really, your son?
Oh yeah. Oh, you got to hear what your son did at school today. And if he does something good, it's like, hey, check out what my son did today.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way it works.
There's a lot of that going around.
Yes.
Yeah, but in general, and I feel like I've always, as long as I continue any sort of relationship with my ex, I will always have like a firsthand witness account of the shift in what we define as like, you know what? I'm making a vow today. I'm never going to say something like that again. I apologize. But there has been a shift in this country where, like, the ideals that my dad taught me, and he was World War II generation, compared to the output of a typical 18, 20-year-old, it's...
Dave.
It is such
It's not just 18 and 20
It's
years.
2016. Come on. Sorry. That's the argument, by the way.
What
Against what you just said.
Oh.
Come on, it's 2016. Come on.
Forget about
It
it.
applies to everything, by the way.
Yeah, I
Yes.
didn't know morality was such a temporal characteristic.
Morality is completely subjective.
Yeah, you're totally dated. I mean, it's 2016.
Yeah. I mean, come on, dude. What are you talking about?
Where you been? I mean,
Get with the
it's
game.
ridiculous, isn't
The
it?
next thing you're going to tell me is you take your guidance from a 2,000-year-old book.
Well, look, I'm still trying to figure out everything in there. In fact, to touch on the promise that I just made on air, I was doing some searching on forgiveness, because you guys know some stuff going on in my life, and like I feel like I've got this. Hurdle is not the right word. Like K2 is more like the right word.
Like Grand Canyons?
Yeah, exactly. And so I was doing some searching online, and oh my God, if I were an evil, I wish this is what stinks about realizing God is real and Jesus is real.
I have found that nothing stinks about it, but
Well,
I'll let
let's
you
hear
go
it.
ahead.
Well, let me just understand where I'm coming from. Because you guys know that, like, we've talked about this before, the dynamics of it. Because you can only fight fairly. Like, you can't gossip, you can't lie, you can't do those things. Do you understand? Now,
Yeah.
if you're petty, like I am, and you want to even the score with those people that have hurt you, you need to be able to do some of those things. But if you can't, it is like bringing a slingshot to a tank battle. And there's no, you're just, I don't know if that's what persecution is, but so I'm online, and I was literally, I did a search. I'm like, I've got to find a way to find real forgiveness in my heart, because you guys know some of the things that have happened, and they're so off the charts, it's hard to even, they're just sort of unbelievable, even more unbelievable in my opinion than 9/11 being an inside job. And I came across on YouTube, I typed in something like, how do you find forgiveness when the same thing keeps happening? Do you just keep doing it over and over? Like, how do you do this? Because I'm like, this is starting to seem impossible to me. Because I was doing so well, but I just fell off the bandwagon this week, and I saw these YouTube videos of all these guys that videotaped their their wives or their girlfriends, like when they're in one of their in a psychotic, drunken rage. And I'm sitting there looking at them, like, with my hand over my mouth. And, you guys know, because we were going to maybe get into a court case. I've got a bunch of those that are saved, that have been recorded. I've never put anything out there like that because I'm here again. I would end up hurting her children, my children, our kid. It's like spiting your face to, what was that term? Nose, face,
nose.
whatever.
Your nose to spite your face.
But there was a vicarious satisfaction in seeing some. I'm like, holy cow! I am not the only person that's gone through this.
Yeah, I hear
where
it's
like some crazy.
You almost feel bad about it, but it does make you feel better to know that you're not the only person stuck in that particular situation.
I saw those before I got into a few articles on forgiveness and how to overcome that kind of thing. But I'll also say this: I don't like seeing other people suffer. Truly, you guys know that. But there was something that was a little bit cathartic when I'm watching some dude who'd taken a video of his ex, who's in can't stand up. She's drunk, and she's like, "I'm gonna call the cops and tell them you hit me." And I'm like, "Oh my God!" I so feel your. It was something. It just calmed me down.
If you get to a certain point, hopefully you will get to that point where you will no longer feel anger. You will just feel pity.
I actually was there for 3 months. Like, we were starting to become friends again. Took her out for her birthday. It ended up in the same old thing. She's screaming just like a sailor on the whole way home. And that's normally where I would engage back. And it didn't even faze me. And I'm like, I fooled myself into thinking like I am better off than I was because they're healing, but there's still some wounds there.
It's going to take time.
And I found out the hard way I wasn't as healed as I thought. So then I backslid and turned into my old, like, mean FU self. And then I felt stupid and felt bad for a million reasons, but mostly because...
Well, wouldn't that be your heart convicting you?
Totally. I kept thinking, Dave, because that's what you would say. Well, that's your heart convicting you. And all week long, I'm like...
Imagine him giving you the condescending look when you think about it, too.
Dude, I didn't need to do it. I just... All week long, I've just been like, I so screwed this up again. Like, I literally just made the exact same mistake that I promised I wouldn't make. And
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What do you think it means to forgive someone?
Now versus...
Right now, today.
Separate them from the hurt that they've done. Forgive it. Choose. And it's more of a choice, not a feeling. And that's what I had a hard time understanding. Choose to stop letting it affect you. Just make that choice.
And give it to God, right? Does it mean you have to do life with that person?
Well, that's the other part is you are absolutely allowed to change the dynamics of the relationship.
You have to be kind, but the boundaries change. And then just one more thing I just wanted to add, what helped me, because you and I are a lot alike. Romans 12:20 helped me tremendously with this. And it says, on the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. Now, when I first read that, I got excited because I was like, yeah, every time I'm nice to someone who's mean to me, God is putting his wrath down. And then God's like, really? I love that person too. It's kind of like coals of shame. Like, if you were to be, very cruel to me and I responded to you with nothing but kindness, wouldn't you just, maybe not right in front of me, but when you walk away, you're going to feel like total crap and it's going to burn you.
And see, when you were being
inside.
cruel, that was working.
Exactly.
It was. And it was. And
because see, the former Howard learned.
Yeah, because you had a similar experience at one point in your life.
You're not kidding.
And Al, by the way, if there's anything here you want to chime in on, don't be shy
feel
around
free.
us.
What do we come to, a therapy show?
He's already like...
Al thinks we're going to be talking
He's
9/11 and
he's already like mad that Hooper's
girders.
between him and the door.
So I'm looking,
what have I come
so I'm looking at his
walk
watch
into?
like 3 times. Like, dude, it's getting late. I gotta
There's
go.
yarn and knitting things back there if
Exactly.
you want to sew. Yeah.
I found
Go
out.
ahead, Howard.
I found out because I love nothing enjoy nothing more than getting under someone's skin who's under mine.
Yeah, but guys, don't forget, hate kills. And that's what drags you down even more.
Oh, this is the former Howard.
Now Al gives me this advice.
I
could have used that a few years. Yeah,
but I did find out by accident, and then used it to my advantage for quite a while, that nothing makes someone more upset than when you're calm when they're insane.
Yeah, you got to stay cool. You got to stay cool.
I was having a disagreement with someone, and they just couldn't fathom how they were wrong. And it was an ongoing disagreement. We kept seeing each other over the course of time. And so, I would yell at him. We'd argue about it. And so one day I just kind of had it. And I'm just like, whatever, dude. You're not going to get to me. You're not going to wreck my night. Take care.
Another way.
And he got so mad. And then I'm like, sweet, that works. So then I'm like, even calm. Hey, buy you a drink, man. How you been? Well, we got to talk about No, we don't. How's wife and kids? Dude, it was awesome. The Christian Howard regrets that, but I loved it at the time.
It's good advice, and it was.
Oh, that is not my advice now.
Well, no, but not to do it from a perspective of trying to twist a knife in someone, because if it's insincere, fake niceness, that's idleness, and
remember,
there's as much problem with that as there is.
Remember, I'm a reformed professional musician. I'm basically a used car salesman. You have no idea whether I'm sincere or not.
Interesting.
Yeah. The good news is, though, she can start over.
Yep.
I hit reset.
That's it.
I'm feeling great today.
Yeah, you can start over and just forget it.
It's been...
Let this be day one.
There's clarity. It was the last 3 months were rocking. All of those little, all the snipey texts and all that, just none of it was, it was going off my back. And I'm just mad at myself for falling off the wagon. So
it happens to the best of us, man.
Yeah.
You know what? Failure, I'm learning how to embrace that. Seriously. Because God uses failures.
Well, it happens a lot.
In a big way.
Yeah.
Well,
it's just how look at it. Peter was a total failure. Judas was the same kind of failure. They were equal failures, but look at how they both chose to doubt, or made a choice to deal with it.
Plus, Bill Gates once said that success is a terrible teacher, and that is true.
That is true.
He actually said something that makes some sense. Imagine that.
He says a lot of things. He's not an idiot.
He probably stole it from Steve Jobs, but
exactly.
Maybe.
Ouch.
So what are we talking about today? I see some handouts in front of you. Is this something from
He's got all
you,
kinds of
Mr. Al?
documentation.
Oh, this is from Al. I'm loving this thing from Al here. I just had I went and looked up some of the material that we were talking about last week pertaining to our conversation, but we can go with anything.
Well,
you want.
It ties pretty well into
actually,
this.
they tie into each other.
Last week, Al, we were speaking on what ideals was this nation founded under? Was it founded as a Christian nation? Was it founded, actually, as a republic, a democracy? In a lot of ways, it's an interesting but somewhat irrelevant debate, and we all understand that because it's just more fun to dig in. And you did some good homework on that, Howard. And Dave DiBiase, his just off the top of his head knowledge of our Constitution, the articles inside of it, the sub-articles. Everyone should have an understanding like that. Like, you set a good bar for me, man. I was very impressed. And to tie this in with Al, obviously, there is... we came together through discovering that there was something incredibly fishy about 9/11. There are some problems in our government. And our conversation had progressed to the point where, and I think it was in this room, so if whoever wants to pipe up, and I want to say Catherine, we were talking about the presidential elections, like everyone is. And as an entrepreneur, I do like to differentiate from what the rest of the crowd is doing, which is talking about the elections. Nonetheless, we were talking about the merits of Hillary versus Donald Trump, and
She has merits.
what?
She has merits.
Well,
She's female.
even if they're
Is she?
if you're a
She's
murderer,
playing that
that's
card.
a merit.
You'd have to. I would want to see evidence, not physical, please God, but I would like to see some evidence that she's actually a female. I don't think demons have gender, unless they're going to add that to the list.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, there's not a D yet. Is there? I lose track.
Last time there was still half the alphabet open. But,
right, okay. Yeah.
But it has been an hour since I checked.
Yeah, they can add. They can use.
Well, D for Democratic kind of works both ways, right? I mean,
if it's a gender reference.
Yeah, but this evil and all this is not a Democrat thing. It's a Republican.
We realize that we're this is an ongoing tongue-in-cheek joke.
Yeah, it's a running.
Yeah.
This is I get to mention the word Hegelian dialectic again, Howard. You're my favorite quote to give you.
We need a bell to ding every time he says Hegelian dialectic.
Almost a swear jar at this point.
It's another way of basically saying.
Every time you say from now on Hegelian dialectic,
you should put the dollar in.
No, you should.
No, it's a great term. It
you should have to give $20 to the DCDfoundation.org.
For those of you that might not understand what that is, it's basically there's a few different ways that it can manifest itself, but it's essentially it's like a good cop, bad cop, where the political parties play those roles, but they both serve the same master at the end of the day.
It's a dog and pony show.
Isn't it like you create the problem so you can provide the solution for it?
Yeah.
Well, that's if you want to get deeper into, that's almost the Machiavellian way of doing, you create your own, which is what they did with 9/11. They create a problem, and then the solution is, well, we need more security.
Oh, hey, we have the solution.
We need more
right.
War money for weapons. We need to go into the Middle East, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a little more complex than that, but I was just simplifying it down. So Al and I were talking about Hillary versus Donald, and I'm not politically active, other than I think I'm going to actually be voting in this election. In my personal opinion, Trump is, just my opinion, he's the only chance we really have. I've seen enough evidence with my own eyes and just had access to things that most people don't.
Trump is kind of a bang for your buck thing. He is not necessarily the only hope we have, but he is.
No, tell us seriously.
He's the fast solution, and I'm not saying I'm not voting for him myself. But what I'm saying is he's a quick solution. But and it's probably the best solution, because I think that we need to do anything we have to do to keep Hillary out of the White House.
Well, she will be,
and he is. You're right. He's the best chance, but it's a short-term fix.
But Howard, when you say he isn't the only solution, who else is out there?
Well, and again, it's we have to risk. We have to be willing to risk Hillary going into the White House for 4 years or 8 years, worst case scenario, in order to try and make real change within the system. I'm saying it's probably not worth it. What is the long-term fix is to empower a third-party candidate, is to bring someone in who is neither Republican nor Democrat.
Yeah, that.
No.
Problem with that
There's
is
no
that
time for that.
Well,
time for
even
and
if
I
there
agree
was.
that time is short, but in the long run, if we hold the Democrats and the Republicans more accountable by bringing in a viable third and potentially fourth,
that's that independent candidate that is probably going to work against.
It's probably going to work against Trump. That's
Trump's
what I'm
not
saying.
really a Republican. He is that candidate.
It's like this, dude.
He's been Democrat, Republican.
I know.
He's been all of it.
I would
In fact,
feel
he's
better.
been
I would feel
independent.
better if he was an independent, though.
No, at one time he was an independent.
I know, but if he was an independent now,
He's a little bit of a
No.
chameleon. Here's the problem. We've had very strong third-party candidates in the past.
Gary
And
Anderson,
the-
Ross Perot.
Several.
He was the best.
The
Ross
problem
Perot,
is-
I'm with you.
He's a super guy.
The problem is not a single one of them was successful. And I don't expect that to change given the state of the current system. And I don't think that I like the system very well the way it is. But the fact of the matter is we literally have two choices this time around.
I would reluctantly agree with that.
And, I mean, that's it. That is it. The numbers don't lie. The third party candidate is not going to step in right now and change the pattern. It's just not going. They're not going to.
Can
be
anyone
successful.
even name who that candidate is?
Gary Johnson. No chance.
Okay.
No chance. So for people who are
sorry, Al, I tried.
People who are on the fence, right?
Other Al.
And I had a conversation at lunch with a buddy of mine about this, and people that are on the fence and like, well, Trump, and I sympathize with this position because he's not my first pick either. But if you do a very simple analogy to kind of illustrate where we're at right now, is you're sitting at a table, okay, and there's a guy behind you, and he's got a loaded pistol at the back of your head, and in front of you are two pistols on the table. One, 100% for sure, is loaded. The other one is maybe loaded, but it might be empty. And you're going to choose, and if you decide not to choose, this guy behind you is going to blow your head off anyway. So, of course, the common sense decision is to take your chances and pick the gun that might not be loaded. This one for sure, 100%. If you put that to your head and pull the trigger, you're dead. You know this.
There's a good metaphor in here, Dave,
we have
like
the same,
Russian roulette.
We have the same exact situation here. We know for sure, 100% positive, that if Hillary Clinton gets in the White House, this is a huge, major problem for probably the whole world.
Yeah, it's that it'll be the end of the United States.
It's a very big problem.
It will conclude the agenda of the, some people call them the New World Order, the elite, the 1%. The Illuminati.
It's done. Now, with Donald Trump, okay, you can make all kinds of, you can theorize, you can make really inaccurate comparisons with historical figures, and he's dictator-like. You hear everything, right? All the arguments.
Oh, yeah.
But all of it is just really just speculation. No one really knows. We know, though, with Hillary Clinton. We know for 100%.
Right. Hillary
there's
is
no question.
playing Russian roulette with a 6-chambered revolver.
There's no empty chambers in it.
None.
Done.
Or you can play Russian roulette with the Trump gun, which maybe only has 3 of the 6.
Yeah, or none.
I disagree with that. I think Trump is probably our only chance. Hillary, it's not only Hillary, but she's got all these troops behind her. She's got all these. She's just a puppet.
Yeah, but to make the case that Donald Trump is the best we can do as far as statesman is ridiculous, in my opinion.
Who else? Okay, give me some others.
Oh, my first choice was Rand Paul.
But he doesn't.
Second choice was Ted Cruz.
Let's talk Rand Paul. He's obviously he's a straight arrow. He's not rich like the rest of them. The other 534. You know how they go in there with maybe worth $100,000 or $200,000, and within 1 or 2 years they're millionaires, multimillionaires. Okay, Ron Paul's a straight arrow. He's by far but he doesn't have the wherewithal to follow through. He doesn't have. It's like Trump. They've been beating him up one side and down the other, and he's still there.
Oh, I think his arrogance works in our favor.
Oh yeah.
Well, his tendency to be a liberal helps him too.
If there's gonna
Wait.
from our
Tell us why you think Trump's a liberal.
I said his tendency to be a liberal. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The fact is, we got two choices, dude.
At the end of the day, there are Republican traits in every Democrat, and there are Democratic traits in every Republican. If the way our system's set up now, if you're going to take outside money to become elected, you are beholden to someone else.
Bingo.
And where does that money come from? At the end of the day, now maybe it's been filtered through Treasury bills and through investments and through Goldman Sachs, but at the end of the day, the people that control this country are the powers behind the central bank, plain and simple. And if you're using their money, I guarantee you the concept of abolishing their monopoly on printing money will never end. Trump may be one of the only potential, and I don't think our problems are solvable with, picking between Hillary and Trump. I think all we're talking about is, do we have an extra 10 years maybe? Yeah. Or are we talking 4?
Yeah, will he start the 100-year process that's going to be to unravel this mess?
Can we keep him alive?
Well,
that's the real problem.
Well, he's obviously got got some form of protection over
Yeah,
him right now, because otherwise he'd already be dead.
Yeah, totally. If
and I'm not talking about Secret Service either.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about
divine intervention.
if he is some sort of a divine choice, which I have seen some people claim to have had visions or to have had prophecies given to them 5 years before Trump even talked about running for office, saying God is going to raise up Donald Trump. He's going to, it's
which at the time was totally ridiculous.
It was totally ridiculous. And one of the things that bothers me is it was one of the soft disclosure topics that we saw on, I don't know if it was The Simpsons or Family Guy.
Yeah, those Simpsons.
Those types of predictions aren't an accident. So at the end of the day, there's no human that's going to fix. We already know at the end of the day what is going to fix this, and it's going to be a divine appearance from above. Basically, when they're like, "All right, enough is enough. This place is completely whacked out." But at least there's hope, because he talks about the power the central bank has. He knows that the evil in this world does want to form a one world government. He wants to put up walls. And long route to something I started discussing, and I believe it was in this room and perhaps Kat, because along the way, I believe one of your sources or somewhere along the way, and if it wasn't you, someone speak up, had understood that Trump converted to Christianity.
I heard this.
I heard that as well.
On a couple different
and then
radio shows.
and that's where Al and I started talking, because that sings to my heart, as in, wow, if that's true and he is blessed and there is, not Secret Service protection, because they'd be the ones to kill him, frankly, if they wanted to.
Right.
Or if the powers that be wanted to. But if he's got divine protection, that will be more powerful than any little human plot they're going to come up with.
I think it's telling, and I think a lot of people, you guys can voice your own opinions, don't give Ben Carson enough credit. And I think it's very telling that Ben Carson is involved in the upper echelon of what's going on with the Trump campaign.
From a spiritual standpoint.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he gets it.
I mean, if Trump was a scumbag heathen, Ben Carson
would walk away.
He'd walk away.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. They can paint him to be crazy, whatever they want. That is a super intelligent, God-fearing man.
He was able, in an intelligent way, at the Republican National Convention, we spoke about this before, but to link Hillary Clinton and Lucifer.
Yeah.
Which is essentially what this show is about.
Yeah.
We're not here to link Hillary Clinton to Lucifer.
No, that's too
but
easy.
Here to show that that fallen angel is alive and at work in this world. Now, exactly how he gets his little human minions to do what they're doing, I'm not sure. But these are the people that we talk about they're involved in human sacrifice. We're talking about the most disgusting, evil things you can.
I think the first thing he does is get him to believe that morals are subjective.
That what?
Morality is subjective.
Yeah, exactly. It's
things change.
It's 2016.
It's 2016, man. Where you been?
It's 2016, dude.
So, Al, I'm looking at this. Are there any?
What?
Are there any points on here you'd like to discuss
please,
or bring
Al.
up?
I think George Washington, Donald Trump, they're almost alike. From the standpoint, as an example, divine intervention that you mentioned before. George Washington, he led in battle, and he never got shot, ever. And his coat got, like in one battle, his coat had 4 bullet holes in it. He lost 3 horses, and just in one battle. Another time, but there was something, some guiding light, something, very powerful watching out for him. And I think what was behind that was the morals, the prayer. In fact, there's that famous painting where he's praying, next to his horse. And, some people just kind of blow that off. But that's really key. That's what he really believed in.
I believe all our founding fathers were receiving divine protection.
Most of them, right.
I think they were divided like we were, but the majority,
They got together. They made it happen. It's like one of the big problems in the Constitution, whatever, was slavery.
Thomas Paine notwithstanding.
Yeah, he was a cool guy. But anyway, like slavery. They got past that for temporarily. They really, half of them knew it was a problem, but they wouldn't have gotten the southern states if they would have dogged down on that one. And so they made it happen. But above all, majority of them were God-fearing, prayed to God. That was part of their life. And obviously, come fast forward to 2016, majority of people, they're not God-fearing. They don't pray to God. They, and unless
if they do pray to a God, you don't have to fear him.
Well, and and you go fast forward to Donald Trump, while isn't a what do you call it? He's not even a born again Christian. He's if anything, I saw one place. What was that? Positive thinking. Who's the guy behind positive thinking?
Stephen Covey?
No. The positive.
Anthony Robbins?
No.
Talking about Joel Osteen?
No.
He did write a book that's
Nightingale?
like...
Anyway, he was
Joel Nightingale?
Vincent Peale.
Oh.
Okay.
We were way off.
Norman Vincent Peale. Old guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were way off.
Before Cat's time.
Kenny, why didn't you come up with that one?
No, but what I'm saying is he's a good guy. I mean, he's a terrific negotiator. He's a hustler. He doesn't let he'll outdeal you. But I think
Well, he could make himself a little more likable.
he's obnoxious. No, but see, I tell you what, one of his problems is
At least he's not fake.
No,
Yeah.
and
Go
I
ahead.
like,
He's
and I'm
not
good
fake.
with that. I'm good with that.
But the thing is, he's got this thing where you hit him once, he'll hit you 10 times harder. Whatever it is, you hit him with one bullet, he's going to give you a shotgun blast. It's just the way he is. That's his makeup. And maybe that's how he got
That
there.
I understand.
And that's the difference between him and Ron Paul. Ron Paul has all of these great values, but he can't get them out there. He can't roll it out. Trump, he can roll it out. You may not like, his arrogance or whatever, but he'll roll it out.
Well,
And
he's self-funded, so he doesn't. His
Well,
words
Well, I
don't.
mean,
they're
I-
not
I-
edited,
I
so he can
personally-
say whatever his agenda is for real.
You know what? And maybe you're right. The money helps. The 10,
I get it. I mean,
the 10 billion versus maybe Paul's a millionaire, whatever. There is a big difference there, and that helps. That gives you the confidence at any rate. And
Yeah, I get it with Trump. My problem is that we're enlightened, okay, and it's the sheep. That's the problem. Is
by
that,
all means, the sheep.
I mean, we've talked about it on other shows, and I've got acquaintances that are intelligent, conservative individuals that are so upset with Donald Trump because he said this or he said that they're actually considering voting for Hillary.
I know.
Yeah, it's
That's
crazy.
sad.
It's unbelievable.
If you
to
choose
me.
your president because of something he said with a bunch of guys, like I know what locker room talk is. I've been in locker room. I don't think. If you're going to be honest, all right, there's not a man in the world
Everybody needs to
that
grow
at some
up.
point or another
It was
hasn't at
11
least
years
even.
ago.
I mean, even
Well,
been, it's.
It's interesting you guys bring this up because those two things fold together in my mind in an interesting way. So we're talking about morality, right? The stuff Donald Trump said, and by all means, if there's a actual victim of Donald Trump, please bring him forward. I'd like to hear from him.
Feel free.
But so far we haven't seen that, right? It's all about what he said and how he's immoral and all these things. So, and then you bring up an interesting comparison between him and George Washington. So think about it like this: if you lived back then, and this question is for everybody, would you have voted for George Washington?
No clue.
Well, he probably would have used the
Okay.
N-word, for instance.
Okay, well hold on. I'm going
That
somewhere with
would-
this.
They will kick him
So-
off Cooking
But we
Channel
never
for
hear
that.
about
So, knowing what you know now of George Washington, would you have voted for George Washington for president? He won unanimously every electoral college twice in a row.
Well, I don't think he could.
It's a yes or no question.
I don't know.
Don't you
I
think
would I would say yes. I would absolutely vote for George Washington. Come on, are you serious?
after what he did, yes.
Knowing what you know now,
Right.
would you vote for George Washington for
Oh,
president?
I see what
Oh,
you're saying. Okay.
I see what you're going with. Yeah,
Yeah,
of course,
Okay.
of course.
Well, George Washington owned slaves.
Right.
But this country wouldn't be what it is without him now, would it? So this whole morality thing, you could see how they're just twisting this to it really is meaningless. He really didn't hurt anybody. Whereas you have people like Bill Clinton, who has a laundry list of rape victims, and even
murder victims.
Murder.
We can
victims.
prove the rape and the sexual assault.
Yeah, there's 3 rapes.
There's like a dozen women that have,
To have 4 of them,
and then,
including that 12-year-old girl that Hillary defended
she's a total pig.
Her
dude.
rapist.
Right. And I know she's an attorney, it's her job, but there's more in that if you listen to the recordings and that. This is dark stuff. And then just the other day, you had Al Gore's out talking for Hillary, and he has
That'll help.
2 that I know of, real people with names, that have accused him of sexual assault. 3, actually. There's 3. 1 in Tokyo, 1 in Portland, 1 in Seattle, against Al Gore. So, really, where do the morals really lie? I mean, so, again,
that's why
Thomas Jefferson.
We're a sheep country. And
that's the problem.
Because we will think whatever our news tells us to think. What's up, Kat?
I just want to say, first of all, if anybody were to judge me on what I did or said 10 years ago, let alone probably 10 days ago,
amen.
I would be in trouble, number 1. Number 2, Abraham was a liar. Noah was a drunk. David was a murderer and an adulterer. And God used all of the list goes on.
Great point.
God used all of those men in extraordinary ways. But I will say this. I don't see any fruit of repentance in Donald Trump. He continues to be abrasive and obnoxious and all that. Now, forgive me for, sounding judgmental about that.
Well, being abrasive
is
and
the Holy
obnoxious
Spirit
isn't a
working
sin.
in him? I don't know. I mean, the Bible says to be kind. It says, it doesn't say to keep repeating the same. I mean, he insults people. Come on, you guys. You can't deny that. But look, I'm not judging his behavior, but my point is that, I was the one who mentioned Ben Carson getting close to him. And when I first heard that Ben Carson endorsed him, my first thought was, what? And then I went, okay, that's God. God is moving this godly man in his camp. And you and I both know that the only thing that changes when you accept Christ as your eternal destination, the change in you is beginning, but you're not seeing it. So, is he spiritually headed in that direction? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. The point is, there's a much bigger picture here. And as Christians, we need to look through the eyes of the Bible. We know Jesus is coming back. This might be the stage that it is the stage that he's setting for this to happen. Trump may be a tool for Christ or a tool for Satan. We don't know. But so I guess the conclusion that I've come to is, just through forgiveness and trying not to be judgmental and using the kind of men like King Cyrus, who wasn't even a Jew, in the Bible, to do extraordinary things. I am going to probably pull the lever for Trump, ask for forgiveness and mercy, and give it to God. Because I don't see any other choice.
Well, there's no
I think that's a smart
way
thing.
I'd vote for Hillary Clinton.
Let me ask Kat one question. Do you feel that you see the Holy Spirit working in me?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
there are times. Okay, so if Trump has had this revelation, we realize it's happened very recently. Okay, you're about 5-6 years in the faith.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
4.
Okay, you're going on 4. I'm going on. I just hit 1.
I'm 5 years in.
You're cutting teeth.
I'm not 18 months.
Same
okay,
here.
and what I will tell you is that now you happen to know me. You know all of me. Okay, you're not just seeing me on TV being attacked and defending myself. There are way too many times that I revert back to my language, my defense, than I care to admit, and they make me ashamed of myself. Again, it's the heart convicting me. It's knowing the difference now. That's the first step to making real change. But I think you can use that, use yourself, use everyone in this room as a barometer, just because when attacked, he may revert to his old obnoxious ways. That does not mean he's not a changed man behind closed doors.
Look, I'm not saying that he's not a changed man. All I'm saying is I don't know. And look,
I hear
know
you.
me. Me of all people, I'm not going to sit and judge.
No, I know that, Ken.
you know,
I'm just throwing. I
what
mean,
he
and I
does, but-
don't mean to sound argumentative, like I'm lecturing
no,
you.
I know. And I'm not trying to argue either, but that's for me personally, that's the one thing that holds me back, you know, from voting for him, because I remember the first year of my salvation, it was so noticeable. I was on fire for Christ. You know, now I wasn't in the public light. I wasn't running for president, but it's undeniable. You know, that change initially. And yes, it's easy to slip back. It's easy to backslide,
of course.
slip back into your own skin.
Does anybody know Donald Trump's religion?
Well, yeah,
Wasn't he,
isn't it Episcopalian?
Yeah, that's
It's
what I was gonna
Presbyterian.
Is it Presbyterian?
Now
Okay.
we know this, right?
But
Well, I mean,
but
do-
only
do we?
But only
Yeah.
7 or 8 times a year. It's like he's Easter, Christmas,
Whatever.
that type of thing.
He comes out and says he's
But-
Presbyterian.
I still say that
and what is it?
What's Hillary Clinton's religion?
Satanism. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I mean,
I mean, does
Baptist.
she ever
Supposed
come?
to
Well,
be bad.
it's obviously money.
I mean, he talks about it. She clearly does not, and that's my point.
There was one thing he
You know.
did say, that he didn't feel like he needed to ask for forgiveness. And
Yeah, he
and
did
that
say that. I
struck
agree.
me. He was
Right.
because somebody asked him, you know, do you believe? Oh yeah, I believe in God. You know, have you asked for repentance? Have you repented? Is what he was at. Oh, I don't think I need to do that.
Well,
Again,
and what I will say about that is that was very early in the campaign, and I think that was before Ben Carson dropped out of the race and joined Team Trump.
Right.
I have heard that the conversion that the conversion has happened during this campaign.
Yeah, that's I
That,
heard
that,
that.
that he has realized a calling from God, and that he has turned to Christ.
Yeah,
And maybe
I
he
said
said
something
that he
stupid
didn't
this
want it-
morning. You know, so I'm not.
I'll say
criticizing
something
him.
stupid in 5 minutes.
You saw what this morning?
No, I said something dumb like that. Probably offended God this morning.
Yeah, the
You know
difference
what I'm
is
saying?
we
So
don't
I'm
walk
not-
around with live mics around us
Right.
all the time.
Yeah.
No, but again,
Thank the
I
Lord
think
for that.
you know, you brought up a key point about the forgiveness, and he didn't in the beginning, and you know, hopefully he's come around.
I
on
know where
that.
you're going with this.
Okay, I think back to this obnoxiousness, back to that about creaming everyone. Again, he doesn't cream anyone until they throw a stone. Okay,
Right? He is
He's an eye for an
definitely
eye guy.
defensive.
That's right. He's an eye for an eye guy, and you call that bad or good or bad or whatever.
I don't.
Well, no, but we all think it's bad. But the thing is, it's like, take McCain as an example. McCain threw the first stone. Now, Trump turned around and threw a boulder at him, saying he's a loser, and But McCain started it. Okay, and in each case, Rosie O'Donnell,
No, she started it.
she
Absolutely.
started it, right? And
I could not agree with Donald
Right.
Trump more on anything than on Rosie
Oh,
but
O'Donnell.
but she's in deep depression because of it now.
Good.
give me a
You know.
break.
It's
Sorry,
just
Lord.
it's the nonsense
Good.
that gets thrown around. That feel bad for her now. And even for
Whatever.
me, for me, I don't even find him that obnoxious. Does that make me kind of a
No,
a-hole?
I'm just saying his obnoxiousness is inconvenient because while we see through it and see to the potential that and what his again, I think his arrogance works in our favor because that guy refuses to fail. That's who I want
That's right.
running this
That's
country.
right.
Yeah, that's a good
Somebody who
Remember,
hits a
what
tough
you're-
situation and says, "You know what? This is really tough. I am not going to. I want John F. Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis. I want that guy running this country."
Yeah, and look, you don't build $1 billion, several
Right.
of them, companies by being an obnoxious asshole and getting people to want to work for you. You don't.
Yeah, you can't
I mean,
bully
I've
your
got
way
experience
to being
with
a
this.
billionaire.
You can't. When I came right out of college and started my first business, I thought I was supposed to be like the sort of business person that you see on television, because that's where I learned how to be I didn't realize, oh, you mean ordering people around like that really does not work? You have to get them to see your vision, and
You have to trick them
and
into
they
doing
have
what
to
you
at least
want.
respect you, if not even like you. And you don't build up that sort of an organization. And you said it best. The man's been a public figure for 30 plus years.
Yeah, he's always
we
around.
should be very happy that, all they're able to dig up is something from 11 years ago that, frankly, every guy in America has.
And it's a
At one
Shocktober
point-
surprise. That's what it was. I worked on so many political campaigns when my career was doing campaigning and politics, and there's always the Shocktober surprise. Now,
That's all they got.
I would be surprised
It's pretty weak.
if Donald Trump doesn't have a Shocktober surprise of his own,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a little disappointed in the man, because, or at least his campaign team. You gotta have a Shocktober surprise.
It's funny, you bring
gotta
up,
play your card right.
Bring up John F. Kennedy, because this is another question. Do you think most Democrats today would vote for John F. Kennedy?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Why not?
Because he's Catholic. Literally.
No, I
'cause
tend
he
to
believes in
think
God.
that they would. I think most of them be like, I'd vote for John F. Kennedy, which is interesting because he had like 12 affairs while he was in the White House.
Right.
Yeah, but no one knew anything about this.
No,
They knew.
I think that was
Well, not necessarily the public at large.
Well, they didn't
But
have what we have now.
back
Right,
then.
right.
The
They could
media
have become
worked
public,
to
yeah.
cover it up. It was
That's right.
actually who's your
Yeah.
namesake? Rice. He ran for something. He was the first one where the media really got involved in the personal affairs of a candidate that was running. What was that candidate's name? His last name was Rice.
No idea.
Or no, Jennifer Rice.
No, the girl was Rice.
That's-
she was the one on the boat. Her
Right,
name was
exactly.
Rice.
Gary Hart.
Gary Hart. Thank
Gary
you.
Hart.
That's right.
That
Gary Hart
was. I hope that wasn't anyone we know. Was it? That was my ex-wife. You son of a bitch. All right. Are we about to take a
Yeah,
break?
we're
Kenny?
gonna take a break.
Let's take a break. Reset. And,
Dave's gonna look for his ex-wife, and we'll be back in 5.
No, we're good. I put it in God's hands.
Welcome back to Down the Rabbit Hole. We are talking about all kinds of things, presidential candidates. We had Al Rice sit in for the first hour. We appreciate him coming by. Hopefully he'll come back again soon. That was, I think he was a little shy at first, but once he got going, man, he had some good stuff to add.
Yeah.
I promise not to talk over him next time.
He'll either be back or he'll be like, okay, these people are crazy.
No, I think he's kind of crazy.
Okay, well, he must be if he sat here.
At the end of the day,
At least a little bit.
Here are his things. He look. He is. Our country needs more people like him.
Yeah,
We're in
No,
trouble because there
absolutely.
aren't
Yeah.
enough people that will stand up
Yeah.
because they'd rather just go to a party, booze it up, wake up tomorrow. Hey, life's the same. No reason to change.
Or just as bad. They're just
Thank
they're
you.
living in they're living in Canton, present company excluded, and in their own little worlds, and they
Did you
just
say in Canton,
yeah.
Why Canton? That was
Yeah.
weird.
It's like the land of the
the strip mall?
yeah. It's like Novi Light.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, really?
Yeah.
What's
In
wrong with
Canton?
all these towns?
Yeah, what's wrong with Novi? I'm missing something.
Dude, you have to be careful. There's something in the water out there. Raising your kids in Canton, I don't know.
There's something in the
I grew up
water,
there, dude.
by the way,
Did you
everywhere.
really?
Yeah.
Well, let's see.
I grew up there. Well, see, you're right. Good point.
You had well water.
Good point.
Yeah.
No, it's city water, buddy.
Really?
Maybe that's what happened.
You lived right on the Westland border?
Technically, I was in Plymouth, like Northville Township.
See, there you go. You didn't grow up in Canton.
I went to school there.
With the high school that has like 3 districts in one.
Yeah, it was only 2 when I
So
was there.
weird. Did I
a
hear
cool
that you
campus.
guys are official with your foundation? Is that true?
That is true. It is
So, like,
actually
we're
now.
really real.
It's not. It's like we're at like the 50-yard line, so we're not tax exempt yet, but we are a legal nonprofit in Michigan. Yes, it's
But they
official.
have all their timeouts, and it's first down.
Yeah,
When
And-
are you going to be
And we're playing the Lions.
tax?
I don't know. I gotta file the paperwork for that, and then wait for the IRS to sluggishly approve it or not. So hopefully it won't take that long.
Okay.
I got to do
Let
a
me
bunch
know.
of. I got like a pile. It's I'm not a lawyer, so it's gonna take me a minute, but it shouldn't be too bad. Shouldn't be too bad.
Just-
See, me personally, I would cook Kat dinner and make her fill them out.
Well, make her feel. I don't know if that's possible.
Well, I mean,
I can ask her to.
I could help you. I would have it. Like, I could even talk to my attorney about double checking.
You are
my
an attorney.
stuff. I'm not an attorney. I'm a lawyer. And I'm my license to practice, so I wouldn't want him to hang his hat on.
Yeah,
They call it practicing law for a reason.
No, it's
You gotta
simple
do
stuff.
it.
It's like
Yeah.
writing bylaws, and then we have to have a meeting and record it, and all this nonsense. It's just time.
Will the
So-
meeting be catered?
My wife will cater it.
Sweet. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm there. I'll be there.
Yeah. 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 So, but yeah, it is. It's we're a Michigan nonprofit.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah, I'm psyched about that. You guys have any events coming up or any funding drives? or anything like that?
I have. It's maybe a little premature, but we are going to do a fundraiser at a local. I'm not going to say the name because it's not official, but the owner of a restaurant saw what we're doing, is interested, and wants to do a fundraiser at the establishment. So that's probably. I want to wait for the weather to get a little cold. so that it's a good
Dude.
thing to do in the winter.
My company does fundraisers all the time.
Okay, so there's maybe 2.
Now all we need is a company that can print up some flyers.
And we got to find a print shop.
If you guys,
dude.
if you guys know of
there's
any
one,
good ones,
yeah,
let me
there's
know.
one in Livonia.
Yeah, they suck. Go somewhere else.
Pretty
No,
decent.
they don't. inkonpaperprinting.com. If you want to have not just your printing problems solved, but
graphic
your
de-
life problems solved.
The graphic designer has attitude there. I would not.
That's true. But all the good artists do. I mean,
Yeah, it's worth enduring because the results are always good.
So last week we were talking about our nation,
Yeah.
the founding documents of it. Were there any nuggets anyone wanted to throw in or wanted to close out or bring up that we didn't
No,
cover?
I got a few things. Now
let's
that you mention it.
Yeah, let's hear what you've got to say.
No, I just had I dug into. I have 4 things here, and what they are is it's 3 proclamations and a letter from Washington to the Army. And,
What is a proclamation? Is that an official type of document, or is it just some fancy way of saying an essay or something like that?
These are basically you'd have to Google it. I don't know. All I know is that basically they got together and Congress put together these proclamations, which I assume are like laws light. Their intentions. Without a constitution, without a Bill of Rights, the proclamations predate the Bill of Rights. So I basically think they're governing guidelines for the country. And Congress put these together, and we're just going to talk about the first 3 proclamations tonight, and then I have a letter from Washington. So the question was the United States founded? Was the intent of the founding fathers for the United States to be a Christian, specifically Christian nation? We've gone back and forth on that. I think we're starting to tip to the yay column based on the new evidence we found, where we were kind of talking ourselves, just using logic and a lot of the faulty ideas that many people have in their head that, it really wasn't. But here, just listen to the wording, okay? Listen to the wording. So this is the first proclamation, and what it was this was written, bear with me, this was written in 1775. I believe that this was written on July 20th, 1775. So this is the first proclamation, and this is from the Congressional Minutes. You can look it up on loc.gov, which is the Library of Congress. All these documents are readily available to you. Okay, so as the great governor of the world, by his supreme universal providence, not only conducts the course of nature with unerring wisdom and rectitude, but frequently influences the minds of men to serve the wise and gracious purposes of his providential government. And it being at all times our indispensable duty devoutly to acknowledge his superintending providence, especially in times of impending danger and public calamity, to reverence and adore his immutable justice, as well as to implore his merciful interposition for our deliverance. This Congress, therefore, considering the present critical, alarming, calamitous state of these colonies, do earnestly recommend that Thursday, the 20th day of July next, be observed by the inhabitants of all English colonies on this continent as a day of public humiliation, fasting, and prayer, that we may, with united hearts and voices, unfeigningly confess and deplore our many sins, and offer up our joint supplications to the all-wise, omnipotent, and merciful disposer of all events, humbly beseeching him to forgive our iniquities, to remove our present calamities, to avert those desolating judgments with which we are threatened, and to bless our rightful sovereign King George III, and to inspire him with wisdom to discern and pursue the truest interests of all his subjects, that a speedy end may be put to the civil discord between Great Britain and the American colonies, without farther effusion of blood, and that British nation may be influenced to regard, and this is an important line, that may be influenced to regard the things that belong to her peace before they are hid from her eyes. This is a direct quote from the Bible. Okay, this is Luke 19:42. That is where that line comes from.
Who wrote this proclamation?
This proclamation was taken down by a secretary. It didn't say who wrote it.
So this is basically a document that several people were behind.
Yeah, Congress worked on this, and this became a proclamation.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which is the proclamations. It is my belief that the proclamations stood in place of the Bill of Rights stood in place of the Constitution until the Constitution was written and ratified. And then it ends that these colonies may be under the care and protection of a kind providence and be proposed in all their interests, that the divine blessing may descend and rest upon all our civil rulers and upon the representatives of the people in their several assemblies and conventions, that they may be directed to wise and effectual measures for the preserving of the Union and securing the just rights and privileges of the colonies. The virtue and true religion may revive and flourish throughout our land, and that all America may soon behold a gracious interposition of heaven for the redress of her many grievances, the restoration of her invaded rights, a reconciliation with the parent state on terms constitutional and honorable to both, and that her civil and religious privileges may be secured to the latest posterity. And it is recommended to Christians of all denominations to assemble for public worship and to abstain from servile labor and recreations on said day. So one of the first documents we have of the Continental Congress, again, this is standing in my belief, feel free to research it, for in the absence of a constitution which had yet to be written because the war had yet to be fought, okay? So this is an official guideline by which we should be, and they are calling for a day of fasting and repentance. I don't know, man.
And
they directly quote from Luke in the Bible.
That is biblical. Israel had been saved many times because, and it would normally be the leader of the king would say, "Hey, nation, we're veering off course here. We need to get back on course." When they did that, they would have a reprieve. When they didn't, they would be dispersed, as in the dispersions, which the Jews went through a few times. I'm of, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I believe in my heart that even if the intention of all the founding fathers was not noble, it was God's intention to use this nation to accomplish.
I think the reason why this is important, because some of the guys that the research that the four of us do is just a little outside of the norm for the average Christian. Okay, we deal with controversial things. We deal with topics and subjects that people find uncomfortable, and it's okay because someone needs to do that. Because someone needs to make those living in comfort aware to keep them safe as well. Okay, so we're doing this because this is the way our brains function, and this is how we reconcile what we do.
Well, this is what our founding fathers intended, was that as a citizen of this country, you have a responsibility to be aware of what the heck is going on. And it's part of the dumbing down that I discussed, because most people...
Well, why this is important to me, and it was the same, not so much of an argument, but someone asked a question, and this was my answer. The reason that I need to know about these things, the reason that it's important to me that as a panel we form a consensus opinion on this, is because whether I am just talking to the average person witnessing as a Christian, to somebody I meet at the store and I do something nice for, or whether I am trying to deal with my friends, which is more on this level, an intellectual level, where you're going to have to really, really dot your I's, cross your T's, man, because these guys are looking for a loophole. Having strong beliefs and having the facts to back those beliefs up makes you a more effective witness.
Oh yeah,
You know, you don't
credible.
sound credible when they're like, "Oh, what about the slaves?" You know, well, you know, I'm not really sure about that, but Proclamation 1, you know, I mean, you have to know these things. Look at the, you know, just in a few minutes talking about the slavery last week, unprepared, unscripted. You know, how many myths did we put to rest? That people are walking, that hundreds of, you know, that millions of people are walking around thinking the wrong thing because they've been programmed to believe the wrong thing because the truth has gotten lost. So that's why I feel it is consequential.
Yeah, look, I never watch mainstream news. I just don't believe in turning something on so that you can hear what they have to say. If you want to find out something, turn off the television set and Google it. Program your own information. Don't let someone program it for you. And with all that said, I avoid mainstream media because the real story typically comes out later when alternative and independent journalists get to work. They just don't have the funding and the reach
mainstream
that media has. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say that, you know, we learned through 9/11, and it's only gotten worse since then. Mainstream media is so brazen with their disinformation, their lies, their misdirection, that it's like the only reason I turn it on anymore is because if there's something happening, I want to see what they're saying about it and poke holes in it so I can know where to go research.
Well, that's the point I was going to make. So my mom usually has Fox News on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, you know, conservative, probably the most conservative of the big five networks now. And I spent some time after the debate listening to the second debate, just not to get information, but I just want to see how each media network was presenting the results, because that's where we form our opinions. What do the newscasters that we watch, what do they think about that?
Right.
And so on Fox, the resounding, if I'm going to just summarize it in a sentence, Donald Trump hit it out of the park.
Right.
It was a grand slam. Flip over to CNN, and they said, now how they had a poll 2 hours after according to our CNN poll, Hillary won this debate by a 67 to 33% margin.
We polled every member of the Clinton family.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just foam at the mouth deception, dude.
Oh, my God.
Just frothing at the mouth deception.
and
They're
that was-
rabid.
Look,
They're just
20
rabid
years
with
ago,
it.
I think they used to do real polls, but they would call a rigged
Of course.
audience. But now, I don't even think they bother with that.
It's not even a poll.
I just think they come out and say they did a poll.
They do a poll in the office. What numbers are more realistic?
Yeah.
60, 40? Let's go 70, 30. Well, let's meet it at 67, 33 because it's more realistic. And I don't even think they're even asking anybody anything. But this topic is good for me because, as you guys know, I question this hardcore.
Right. And because and because of the amount of knowledge you have of this country, of the Constitution, of that kind of stuff, you know, I was, you know, a lot of the things made sense to me. That's why I was kind of like, you know what, Dave makes a good point, man. I don't get it.
It wasn't good enough for me that somebody just said it.
And
somebody
it
just said
be.
This is the fact, this is how it is, and it just wasn't. So I had to question it, dude.
Be.
I had, and since with some of the stuff we covered last week, and now this, and I had actually read some of these things before and kind of forgot about it, and I would say honestly, I pulled a 180 on this one.
Yeah, me too, because I was positive that you were right, and I wanted to dig into the pagan ideology and stuff like that. I
still have a question on that.
Well, I think I have an answer to that, but I have to research
with the Freemason stuff.
Well,
I still have a question.
About it. I mean, think about it. All of the monuments and a lot of that stuff was erected after these guys had already died. It wasn't Washington didn't put up his own monument.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah,
I mean, you know,
at least I don't think.
Look, I don't think so.
The secrecy of what Freemasonry was, what was way, way better kept in the late 1700s, early 1800s. It's only because of the dawn of the internet where all of these defectors from those organizations are starting to paint what the real picture is. Do we know? And we're now it's not as if when the layout of Washington, D.C. was being planned by the city planners in the early 1800s, late 1700s, or when the Washington Monument, which wasn't built, I think it was finished under Lincoln, which was in 1860-something. This is 100-plus years after these guys were gone.
I mean, think about it. Washington, D.C. wasn't even the capital of this nation when
Right.
George Washington
But they were,
was.
but they're still Freemasons.
But you know what? I would check in, if you want to look into that, I would check into Tommy J and Ben Franklin, because Thomas Jefferson designed the layout of Washington, D.C. He based it on French architecture.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the one who, that's why there's a lot of French sounding things in D.C. So I think that's
This may sound anti-American, but it might be possible. I mean, Ben Franklin was not a politician, but his face is on what?
He was a
money.
statesman. Yeah.
Oh, who
Yeah.
prints the money?
Yeah.
Who's the other most famous president that's on our money? Thomas Jefferson. Now, so maybe these guys were,
Who knows?
and, and they're held high in essentially effigy because of whatever they did back then, and we are taught to believe that they were great, when perhaps they were the examples of what was not great.
And maybe it was just cool to be a Freemason back then. And
Yeah,
they just
maybe.
Felt, they just,
Well, Ben
you know.
Franklin,
Maybe,
I mean,
maybe they were, they were Easter, they were Creaster Masons.
And look, it's not like, you guys have to understand something. Freemasonry in and of itself is not bad. It's actually a charitable organization. Yes, it is a secretive organization, and as you advance, and it's not per year, but it is per degree, you get to learn more and more of the secrets. And once you reach somewhere in the vicinity of 25, 26, 27, 28, up to 33rd degree, that's when you're actually introduced into the secret of who it is we're praising. And ultimately that ends up being Lucifer, the
But they all know that Nimrod was the founding member, so it's not a secret. It's in their
But what does that
encyclopedia.
mean to someone who doesn't have a Christian background? What does that?
Well, that's true.
Nimrod was meaningless to me.
That's true.
I didn't even know he
that's
was
true.
the name of a real
yeah, we
king
only know it
until
from Bugs Bunny.
a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But I will say this: who would have been on doing a talk show on WJR last night around 10 or 11? Is that Savage Nation?
I don't know. I don't listen to JR, so.
Caller called in from the Carolinas, and obviously they're talking presidential debates. And this caller's like, I don't know what to do. He could have been on our show. He's like, we're about to be Nazi Germany. We're about to lose this country, lose our freedom. Blah, blah. It's a police state. We are in massive, massive trouble. What do we do? And like I say, I don't think it was Mark Savage. Is that his name? Whatever, Mike Savage.
I know who you're. I know. I don't know his first.
I'm not
name.
sure if it was him or if one of his contemporaries, but his suggestion, and I only knew it because of our show, because of what you taught me last week. He said, there's only one thing you can do, buddy, and that is you've got to call an Article 5 convention of the states.
There you
And that is the
So he
last.
knows what he's talking about.
He was that and he named several bills or websites you can go on. He goes, add your name to it, become a part of it, investigate it. That's the only way we can amend our Constitution without blood.
Mm-hmm.
And
or to rely on Congress to do it, which will never happen.
so, but I was just thinking
I mean,
this.
wouldn't you say that Congress is quite different now than it was in
Yeah.
1770?
Well, which is why they gave us two options.
Yeah, right.
Because they knew that.
So let me get.
My
through these.
point was, I'm immersed in this stuff. I didn't know what that was until
Yeah.
last week, and it's embarrassing to admit that.
Not
'cause
really,
I feel
'cause-
like I should
No,
know.
dude, that's
Now you know.
But in a course of a week, twice it came
Yeah.
across
Now
my,
you
and
know.
now.
coincidence.
And they're actually having mock state conventions as we
Well,
speak.
there are a number of states that have filed formal petitions to
course.
secede from the union.
That's true.
I mean, they're always viewed
Isn't
as
Texas always the first?
Well, they're always seceding. And one of these days they might.
Yeah, they might.
It would be
The argument
interesting.
is whether or not they're legally able to, which I argue they are. But
Yeah, they are.
Whatever.
If they vote to secede, I believe they are. I mean, they will lose a lot of the support that comes with the federal.
yeah, like
government.
block
get
grants.
attacked by
and,
Mexico.
They'll get invaded.
Mexico.
Yeah,
They'll
I
take
mean,
it back.
they may be facing the
'Cause
U.S.
they actually,
military.
They actually want it back, which is, whatever. But anyway.
Okay, so I got a couple more articles I want to run through real quick and get your opinions on. So this is, proclamation number 2. It has more direct biblical quotes. It was written in March of 1776. And this proclamation reads, in times of impending calamity and distress, when the liberties of America are imminently endangered by the secret machinations and open assaults of an insidious and vindictive administration, it becomes the indispensable duty of these hitherto free and happy colonies, with true penitence of heart and the most reverent devotion, publicly to acknowledge the overruling providence of God, to confess and deplore our offenses against him, and to supplicate his interposition for averting the threatening danger and prospering our strenuous efforts in the case of freedom, virtue, and posterity. The Congress, therefore, considering the warlike preparations of the British ministry to subvert our invaluable rights and privileges, and to reduce us by fire and sword by the savages of the wilderness and our own domestics to the most abject and ignominious bondage, desirous at the same time to have people of all ranks and degrees duly impressed with a solemn sense of God's superintending providence and of their duty devoutly to rely in all lawful enterprises on his aid and direction, do earnestly recommend that Friday, the 17th day of May next, be observed by the said colonies as a day of humiliation, fasting, and prayer, that we may with united hearts confess and bewail our manifold sins and transgressions, and by sincere repentance and amendment of life appease his righteous displeasure, and though the merits and mediation of Jesus Christ through the merits and mediation of Jesus Christ, obtain his pardon and forgiveness, humbly imploring his assistance to frustrate the cruel purposes of our unnatural enemies, and by inclining their hearts to justice, benevolence, and prevent the future effusion of kindred blood. But if continuing deaf of the voice of reason and humanity, and inflexibly bent on desolation and war, they constrain us to repel their hostile invasions by open resistance, that it may please the Lord of hosts, the God of armies, to animate our officers and soldiers with invincible fortitude, to guard and protect them in this day of battle, and to crown the continental armies by sea and by land with victory and success, earnestly beseeching him to bless our civil rulers and the representatives of the people in their several assemblies and conventions, to preserve and strengthen the Union. Here we go, another Bible verse. To inspire them with an ardent this is not the Bible verse, but this is something we're going to come back to in a second. To inspire them with an ardent, disinterested love of their country. To give wisdom and stability to their councils and direct them to the most efficacious measures for establishing the rights of America on the most honorable and permanent basis. That he would be graciously pleased to bless all his people in these colonies with health and plenty.
Being God.
He being God. Health and plenty, and grant them a spirit of incorruptible patriotism. And then here we hit another Bible verse, and of pure, undefiled religion may universally prevail.
So if I'm going to summarize that, that's the end of the proclamation, yes?
Pretty much.
It basically says you got to stay with God and Jesus Christ if you hope to keep freedom in your country.
The line in pure and of pure undefiled religion may universally prevail is James 1:27 for those keeping track. And what I found interesting about that line, to inspire them with an ardent, disinterested love of their country. This is something that
line a little quizzical for me. What does an ardent, disinterested love mean?
Disinterested love of country. This is something that we have completely lost.
Like, you're talking partisanship here?
No, you're talking disinterested love of country. It is a love for your country that is willing to sacrifice self-interest. Disinterested love. It means that you will do what is best for your country rather than what's best for yourself.
Well, that
that's long that hasn't been around a couple of years.
No, it was. That was one of the characteristics of the greatest generation, which they would have been born in the
you're
late
right.
1800s, early 1900s. They lived through the Great Depression. They fought in World War II.
They believed in family.
And that was truly the last moral. Well, there's always it's never black and white. We're talking about degrees of shades of gray here.
50?
But we've gone from, we started to get a little bit gray even at our founding. There was definitely words like God and Jesus and Christian were used by politicians up through right around FDR.
Yeah.
But from the minute, Truman was a Christian as well. But I don't know about Eisenhower moving forward. It just, obviously, yes, Kennedy was a Catholic. He was a Christian. Certainly our presidents have to say something somewhere along the way to appeal to that religious, the voting bank that is the USA. But
Right, but can you imagine anybody reciting Bible verses and
No way.
mentioning God and Jesus Christ by name
In official documents.
in a law?
No.
well, George Bush
In a bill.
George Bush did recite a biblical verse once, and do you know what he recited?
Can only imagine.
He actually, now when he said it, he's saying it to the people, and it is the cautionary tale of what Satan's desires were, which is, I will, I will ascend to the top. I will darn it. I'm going to need some help with someone that has a computer. My point is he read this, which was God saying what Satan had said and how terrible it was. Bush just said the part that Satan said.
Right.
I will ascend to the
It's
highest.
defiant. It's in defiance. They did the same thing after 9/11. A lot of politicians came out and did the same exact thing.
Whereas Rabbi Jonathan
That
Kahn,
he points that out. Yeah, the Isaiah 9:10 thing. But what gets me, I don't know, there's something that maybe it's just me, but what never ceases to amaze me is the absolute command over the English language these guys had.
Yeah.
Listen to
And that's
how,
another thing
and
we've lost for sure.
This is how these guys communicated with each other in letters. They used this
Yes.
kind of language. You want to do kind of an interesting study that's just out of just to illustrate something. You can find these as like letters that Civil War soldiers wrote to their wives. The language, these people were farmers. They weren't, and
they were so much smarter.
Well, listen to you pay attention. It's almost like you have to translate it, but it's English. But these people were so much more educated. And now what do we have? Go from this to now we have like Joe Biden. I mean, this guy's these people are nowhere near where those guys were.
Well, we're
nowhere
we've
near.
been fooled. We are less educated, but we have
Get
the
dumber
impression
every generation.
But we believe we're actually smarter.
Well,
that is
But we rely more and more on technology to do the things that we could do for ourselves. I mean, we love Google because it expedites our day, but we could go to a book somewhere and get this stuff.
Yeah,
but then I couldn't cut and paste out of a book. And
We'll see how smart people are when they turn off the electricity. All of a sudden, you thought you were. We'll see how well you survive in the world for 30 frickin' days without power.
Read old. What's really cool is read old debates. Presidential debates, and even though these people were opposite, I mean, they probably hated each other, but the way they addressed each other and spoke to one another was with the utmost respect.
Yeah.
Really, really just, I mean, now these people don't even know how to act that way anymore. And you read that and you go, this is incredible. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. Respectfully, sir. It's just unreal.
That's part of the reason that's made me even more passionate to continue this topic over the next couple shows off and on, to bring this information out, because it's like, I grew up believing that the founding fathers were great men. That these are the kind of men you can look up to, you can aspire to them, and then through the programming and the liberal agenda that I'm the perfect age, okay, to go through school. that and people a few years older than me with the Bible removed, and when they started omitting certain facts of the history and going through and stuff like that. And it's like, I got to a point where I'm kind of like, these guys were just normal Joes. No, they weren't.
No, not
they were
by any
great
stretch
men.
of the imagination were they normal Joes.
And you have to look at things in context, which we'll get into. That's another few pages down in my document we won't get to today. But a lot of things are taken out of context. And you have to think about the times they lived in, what they were up against. These guys were fighting for their lives. They were not trying to decide which TV dinner they were going to get.
Well, they didn't have the right to draft these documents.
Right. This is illegal.
Well, putting their signature on that very document was their death warrant. They would have been hung had they been caught and had it been unsuccessful.
Right.
So think about that. You're literally signing your own death warrant and praying that this works.
Yeah.
And they were outnumbered, man, huge. There was not support for these guys.
No.
There was not support for this effort.
No.
Because it was hard. It was not, this didn't just go like, everyone was into it noon. No. It was more like everyone was like, are you crazy?
No, these are great men.
They're definitely you're right. The first thing you said is that these are the type of people that you would aspire to be, to have the kind of insight.
No human is perfect. We're all flawed.
No, it's not about that.
But let's not, but the thing is, in this generation, what everything's degraded down to is, let's find the one flaw that represents 0.0001% of what someone is, and let's focus on that and make them look like a piece of crap.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at, they're drafting documents like this, and these guys were largely educated, in
self-educated.
Exactly. They autodidactic, a lot of them.
Yeah.
And there was no electricity, no computers. Yeah. Everything was in books. These guys knew more about
written by hand in cursive.
Well, and think about this. You had to get to Europe. You had to take a ship. It took months. 6 months maybe, depending on the weather. But they were more educated in past and ancient cultures than even we are now.
Yeah.
Of course, granted, they had access to stuff we don't, but
if we have lost, if we've lost sight of the truth of the founding of this country in only a few hundred years, can you imagine all the stuff that we really lost?
Well, what was destroyed, I mean, they had access to, and these guys were amazing people, man. The minds are incredible, incredible. I mean, the stuff they came up with is just now it's clear that this was just the concepts they came up with were absolutely divinely inspired.
And democracy,
no question.
and some of the things, there were things about any form of government that was existing. They're like, it doesn't really work. We need to. So they created, for the first time in thousands of years, dare I say, their own form of government to try and make the perfect form of government, and yet Satan's still found a way to screw that government up too.
Yeah, but they knew it. They knew that it would be fallible. They knew the monster they were creating, and they had there's ways out. There's ways out. But
well, we can end with this. This is from. It's funny you were bringing up George Washington earlier. I'm just going to paraphrase real quick. This is General Orders to the Army. This is George Washington. It was written at headquarters in New York, and it was presented on July 9th, 1776. And I'm just going to excerpt from it. But in the third paragraph, it starts, the Honorable Continental Congress having been pleasured to allow a chaplain to each regent, with the pay of $53 1/3 per month. The colonels or commanding officers of each regiment are directed to procure chaplains accordingly, persons of good character and exemplary lives, to see that all inferior officers and soldiers pay them in a suitable respect and attend carefully upon religious exercises. The blessing and protection of heaven are at all times necessary, but especially so in times of public distress and danger. The general hopes and trusts that every officer and man will endeavor so to live and act as becomes a Christian soldier defending the dearest rights of liberties of his country.
Wow.
That's directly from Washington's mouth, transcribed by his secretary and submitted to the Army.
Can you imagine our president saying something like that now?
Well,
I would imagine he would say exactly the opposite.
I have a friend who always gives me a unique Bible for Christmas each year since I've been a Christian. For example, he gave me one. It was the government-issued Bible the year I was born. Okay? And last Christmas, he actually found on eBay, it's a Bible that was issued to soldiers in World War II. And it's, it's a pocket Bible, but that's what the Army had. And when you open it and you read it, it's all about, obviously it's a Bible, so obviously it's all about Jesus. But, the intro into it, and you as a soldier, you put your faith in Jesus Christ. Could you imagine if we handed those to our...
Oh, they would find a way to put people in jail for that nowadays.
And these were government issued to our troops back then.
They're working to remove all of the chaplains from the armed forces.
Yeah.
They are working behind the scenes to make that happen now.
Yeah, it's a good move.
Because those soldiers who are putting their lives on the line and want to and believe in God to protect them, they might be offending the atheists in the ranks.
Well, come on, it's 2016, dude.
It's 2016.
Come on.
The IFOC is the only group of chaplains that is even recognized by our country. It's the only one that's left. The IOFC. So
International Federation of Chaplains?
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Good guess.
Wow, that's
nice guess.
Wow. What else could it be? So to clarify, I made a mistake. The rumor that what Bush had said was from the Bible, but it actually wasn't. And these were his words. It was during his second inauguration, January 21st, 2001. This is the younger Bush. He had mentioned in there, which many people thought was a biblical verse, and I'll tell you what it was in just a second. George Bush's words in part of this inauguration speech were this: "We know the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong. Do you not think an angel rides in the whirlwind and directs this storm?" That was from a letter written by Virginia statesman John Page to Thomas Jefferson. And this article, which I'm reading as I'm talking, so I can't completely vet it, is from cuttingedge.org, article 1464, basically goes on to say that was an Illuminati message to the other Illuminists in this world. And the angel that Bush is referring to is the fallen angel, Lucifer, and he's the one guiding this storm, which ties in with what we spoke about last week, which we're now seeing in films. Any major media production these days, you will see a quote or something very close to an exact quote along the lines of, "We're going to gain power by creating chaos, and then we will bring order to that chaos."
Yeah.
But we're going to create the chaos, and it's order ab chao, I believe, order out of chaos, which is also a Freemasonic slogan. And this, according to this article, was Bush's way of communicating to the rest of the world that our new world order is a go. It's still going, and our God, who is this angel. I mean, where in the Bible would an angel...
Right. I was just going to say, as soon as I hear something like that, I almost get kind of goosebumpy, because the words, instantly in my mind was like, oh, of course he's not talking about, I already knew what he's talking about, because an angel's not going to guide.
This work continues. Do you not think an angel rides in the whirlwind and directs this storm? This work continues. The story goes on. And an angel still rides in the whirlwind and directs this storm. God bless you all. And God bless America.
That was a 20-second snippet.
It's creepy, dude.
It is creepy.
It's creepy to me. It creeps me right out.
So I made a mistake. I thought that was literally out of the Bible, but what this article corrected was that it sounded biblical,
Yeah.
but he's actually the point wasn't lost, which was he was referring to Lucifer, not the God that our founding fathers are talking to.
And he throws.
But
in,
I just think, I mean, we can go on with this. I think there's other points we can bring up, but in my mind,
Howard sold me.
This is
oh, dude,
we have completely eradicated the notion that this was not intended to be a Christian nation. Jesus Christ is mentioned by name multiple times in all of the proclamations that are leading up to the Constitution.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this wasn't just and I've got a very compelling thing that hopefully I'll be ready for next week, just on when people want to use the deist argument. That's what I'm talking about with context, is you have to look at what a deist was in 1776 as opposed to what they call a deist now.
Fascinating.
What would you...
Oh, I'm not prepared.
No. What would you define a deist as? Like someone that believes in one God?
Oh, no, a deist by today's definition is someone that believes that God's an absentee landlord. That, he created it, but he's disinterested and doesn't that he created it and put everything in balance, but does not participate in daily lives.
Or that a higher power exists, but it's not necessarily
not like active.
Jesus.
Yeah, but it's not active.
No,
they believe in the God of the Bible. At least as far as I know, a deist believes in the God of the Bible. They just believe he's an absentee landlord.
Yeah, I don't know, because I thought it's
maybe
more
you
agnostic.
You just believe
right?
that there's something bigger than you for sure. You believe there's a higher power, but you're not prepared
According
to say.
to dictionary.com, deism is a belief in the existence of a God on the evidence of reason and nature only, with rejection of supernatural revelation, which is to be distinguished from theism. Second meaning is belief in a God who created the world, but has since remained indifferent to it, which is exactly what you're saying, Howard.
And Tommy J.
Yeah, we got a caller.
Oh, wow.
I was going to say Tommy J was a deist.
Domino's Pizza. Can we take your order?
What can we get for you?
Welcome, caller.
Hi, my name's Todd. Thanks for taking my call.
Welcome on, Todd.
Hey, you got some good material there. Did you catch the WikiLeaks that had to do with talks of aliens?
No.
Well, possibly, because there's a lot of... are we talking about the Ronald Reagan briefings in the 1980s?
No, this was the seventh one on the moon.
This just came out where they saw a rocket that was Apollo 11 filmed a rocket or some sort of fabricated vehicle that was accelerating, and we could see it against the back of the moon drop. Is that the one you're talking about?
No, this is the one where the astronaut is saying to Podesta that the aliens want to release 0-point energy technology to our society, and then Podesta says that the Vatican is aware of the aliens.
So this is in the current Julian Assange WikiLeaks dump that happened recently.
Look, the truth of our world is in WikiLeaks. And Todd, there's no doubt the Vatican is fully aware that now, whether they realize they're dealing with demons or whether they realize they're dealing with quote-unquote aliens as little green men, I'm not sure. But they did requisition the largest telescope in world history, whose initials read Lucifer.
Well, it actually is Lucifer. Yeah, they called it that.
And insiders at the Vatican, and you really need to read Thomas Putnam, Chris Putnam, Thomas Horn, who spent a lifetime uncovering the insides of the Vatican. Some excellent interviews with Father Malachi Martin, who was also an inside cardinal at the Vatican and was fully aware of the demonic takeover of that institution, and that they are fully expecting some sort of a reveal, that these creatures are going to reveal themselves and pose as the creators of humanity, as the watchdogs of the human race. I'm not exactly sure what, But if you don't know that the Vatican's been absolutely compromised, the Pope, I've seen him actually say this. This is not a conspiracy rumor. But he said, if aliens ever did show up, we could baptize them.
Right.
Which I thought is funny, but he's preparing, his...
So I want to go back to Todd's 0 point energy. What do you know what this is?
A little bit. It's about being able to pull energy out of a vacuum. Nikola Tesla dipped into that a little bit. But yeah, it generates. It's almost like pulling the energy not out of an atom, but out of a vacuum.
Interesting.
Well, if you think about solar energy and magnetic energy, just those two for the moment, they're free, they're constant, and there is no reason we have not been able to harness that to equate to what fossil fuels have done for us. That energy, and Tesla was working on that, I don't think that's a theory. I think that's a known...
Didn't he solve it and just everything disappeared when...
Well, there's a whole thing.
Yeah,
on
Tesla's
that.
a
That's the
whole
Montauk
3
project.
shows. Yeah.
Was there a
Montauk. Okay, interesting.
Todd? Was there a date on that email? I'm curious when that was written.
I'm curious what?
When that email was actually written. Is there dates on those things? I haven't actually.
I first saw it this morning. So I'll look up your guys' email and send you a link.
Okay, great.
Well, I get to use the word Hegelian dialectic twice on the show.
Another $20 for DCD.
$40.
And we've only got a minute left here, Todd. But, when this deception happens, it's not that we're going to be under attack from an alien race. They're going to be good cop, bad cop. Supposedly, and you can get this out of military and government documents. Just go to FBIvault.com for starters. And
Talking about Project Bluebeam.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, Bluebeam
Yeah.
and Blue Book, Bluebeam is they're assembling the greatest hologram deception of all. We're going to literally look in the sky and see God.
And see things, yeah.
And not only that, it's going to come with audio ability, so it will be able to whisper into your ear based on your particular GPS location. But, I mean, unless you know exactly the deception's coming, you are going to believe God has shown up. Now, of course, it will be the Antichrist. 0 point energy, by the way, in WikiLeaks is first line says is the lowest possible energy that a quantum mechanical system may have, i.e., it is the energy of the system's ground state. That's probably too complicated for us to cover in a minute.
Yeah, we'll touch on that next.
It gave me
week,
something
but
to
we'd,
look up, dude.
Fascinating, Todd. Thank you
Thanks
for
the call.
enlightenment.
Thanks for listening, man.
Appreciate it very much.
Send us that
No
link,
problem.
okay, buddy?
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Take care, man.
All right. With that,
we're out, man.
We've
been down the rabbit hole.
Who do we need to praise on this show?
Jesus Christ, buddy.
Dude,
Jesus
he is for real. He is coming back, and get your ducks in a row, because if you think you're going to be able to figure this out once the television's been shut down and once it started, you will not. It's now or never. He is our only way out of this mess, and praise goes to him for enlightening, for putting the information out there that we can at least even whatever.
This has been Down the Rabbit Hole. To God be the glory and great things he has done.
See you guys next week.